We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180, 1230 KGEO, 1410 KERI, and now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And our guest in person is Crystal Figueroa with 23 ABC and Azteca Bakersfield.
You know, Crystal, you were talking about Mike Hart, and I always found it interesting when I had a suite at the arena. Mike would be doing the announcing at the arena for the Condor game.
Right.
And that would end at 10:30, 11 o'clock a lot of times. And now you're telling me he shows up at 2 o'clock. Did he go right from the game to the studio, or did he go home?
You know, I suggested one time that maybe he should just go straight to the studio. We'd have a nice little pillow and blanket for him so he can take a little cat nap before the show. He never really did that. You know, Mike really is kind of our Superman at the station. You're right. He did all the Condors games. They were over really late, and then he had to be back at the station at 3 o'clock in the morning. How he did it, I really don't know. You'd have to ask him. 5 Hour Energies were, his little, pick me up and go. But yeah, and he does it because he loves to. He doesn't do it because he has to. He enjoys it, and he's so good when he's out there at the Condors games. Yeah. If you haven't had a chance to check him out, do so. He is so much fun. And then he has, all this energy for the morning show, and he does a really great job. And, of course, wife and kids, and he's able to handle it all, and he does a really great job. So we love him at the station.
And you were going to tell us about Jackie Parks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what's that, husband of hers?
You mean just, our news director? Yes, Todd Carley.
Todd's, when I first met Todd, I was trying to buy a basketball team here in Bakersfield called the Jam. Mm-hmm. And Todd was in town helping us out at that time, and then he moved on and became an announcer with the studio.
Yeah, and he's amazing taking charge of that newsroom. As you might already know, we're under new ownership. Scripps, EW Scripps has us, and we are doing amazing things at 23. So, Todd and Jackie, yes, they're married, but it's when you're working with them, you wouldn't really know it because they're so business. Mm-hmm. And it really is all work. But one thing about Jackie that folks might not really know is, when she's on the air and we're talking about news can be so serious, and, she has to deliver it, professionally and be serious and talk about the topic on hand. But in the newsroom, that girl is a riot. She is so much fun to hang out with, and she'll just tell you stories, and she's quick. Someone will say something, and she's got a one-liner that'll have the newsroom laughing. So she's a lot of fun, and I had the privilege of working at night with her for the last year.
I wanted to ask you another question about, let's see. Yeah, let's go back to media and the bias, okay? This whole thing going on with Syria.
Right.
I had a fun time, and I'm going to use it tonight in my class that you're going to be at.
Okay.
I was watching the This Week with George Stephanopoulos and the Chris Wallace interview with Senator Kerry.
Okay.
Totally different. Okay?
Right.
It was just amazing looking at the two of them. And, they're not opinion shows. I mean, they're more opinion shows than they are news shows, realistically. Now, in your case, you were looking for work for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Would you act differently as a newscaster, say, in the Los Angeles market than you would here in the Bakersfield market because of the different biases in the community?
Would I act differently as a journalist?
Yes.
No.
You would report the story the same way?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And that's just intrinsic. I'm a journalist at heart, and whatever the information is that I have to get out there, you say it. What the people need to hear first is what you're going to say first, no matter where you are.
Because it doesn't necessarily come across that way. I mean, I'm not saying you all the time. I was just recently in Canada. I was laughing at the newscasts in Canada because, their take on it was totally different, and yet my family couldn't see the bias in it, so.
Yeah. No, and, I really think it depends what kind of stories they are, too. Let's just, random topic. If you want to talk about gun control, that's going to be a lot different the way you say it here than you would in Los Angeles, only because of the makeup of the people who are here. Does it affect everybody differently? Yes, but the information and the facts would certainly be presented differently.
Crystal, I'm always interested in a little bit different things than Marty possibly, and I like the personal aspect. And so, where were you born and raised?
I love LA. I am from the City of Angels. I was born in East Los Angeles. I grew up in a little city about 15 minutes outside of LA, La Puente.
Oh, La Puente.
Sí, señor. I went to La Puente. I went to Bassett High School, ended up going to Cal Poly Pomona. So I went there, and when I graduated, I was like every other college grad looking for a job. And I applied across the country, and no one hired me. No one called me back, Marty.
Yeah, well, you and I had this conversation. It's funny because one of my favorite restaurants when I had my office in L.A., a client of mine is a restaurant that you're familiar with in La Puente.
Right.
And you had mentioned that when you graduated, you had sent applications out to 100 different studios.
Yeah, I lost count after a while.
Can you believe that, Clay?
Yeah, well, you didn't get a job for how long?
It's true. When I got out of the Marines, at that time it was difficult.
Yes,
finding work. Sure.
Yeah, and okay, so you put together your amateur college resume tape, and you hope that a small market somewhere in the nation is going to look at you and say, yes, this girl has potential, and give you a call back. But I sent out my resume tapes, and I wasn't getting any calls back. And of course, my parents are like, well, you graduated. Where's your job?
Is it women? Is it because you were a woman, or
I
bilingual,
really don't know. I could still sit here and try and figure it out. I really think part of it was just inexperience. Mm-hmm. News directors want someone who's had a little bit of experience, a little bit of work, and I had interned at the ABC station in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. So I did have that, and I had confidence in myself. I knew what I was doing. And I thought, my ability to speak Spanish would be a plus, but I really think they were looking for someone with more experience. It wasn't until I branched out to reach for Azteca in San Diego that I got a call back because I'm bilingual.
That's a problem. That's a problem the kids have today. Everywhere they go to apply for a job, they want you to have experience. Well, how are you going to get experience if you've never had a job?
Right. Right.
So your college was your experience, and you're working at the various station probably for no money.
Well,
as an intern.
Right. When you're in LA and you're a kid out of college. And so anyways, by God's amazing grace, they called me back from San Diego, Azteca San Diego. One thing led to another, and I am now here with Azteca Bakersfield.
And you recently had a baby, you said?
I do. I've got 2 little kids. My son is 9 months. My daughter is turning 4, and life is amazing right now.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I know.
So how do you balance work and home and school and everything else that you're doing?
God first. I have support from an amazing husband. And, everybody does it. Everybody has families and a job, and I'm just privileged to have, amazing children and a job that I love. So that really helps make it easier.
I like your God first approach.
Oh, thank you.
I
Me
really
too.
do.
Can't do without him.
Yep. Well, we've got about 1 minute and 15 seconds left, and I want to talk about a couple things that you're doing, which is neat. You're going to be at my class tonight, and I really, really appreciate that. And then you're going to be in Tehachapi. You're going to be the speaker at the Chamber of Commerce in September.
Yes,
this
that's
month.
right. I know. I got to get together
Yeah.
with your folks, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to hear what's happening in Tehachapi.
I did that once. They threw tomatoes.
Well, maybe you can go with me this time. I'll put you right in front of me so you can get caught in the crossfire.
Well, if you put Clay in front of me, you wouldn't see either one of us. So. I'm sorry. That was, that was a freebie. That was low-hanging fruit.
No, I'll get back.
Oh, yes. Sometime in the next show or two, you'll get back. Let's see. We've got about 30 seconds left. Crystal, thank you so much for being here.
Marty,
really,
thank
really
you so much for having me. Clay, it's been so much fun. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you coming by.
Please
Good luck
invite
tonight.
me back. I know I'm gonna take my baklava, and you guys can take the donuts. And thank you so much for having me. I'm gonna post this.
You're welcome.
Oh, this will be great.
Yeah. So.
Well, we'll see you guys in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.